What's up, gang? Welcome to another episode of the Grindcast. Get ready. It's a new day, and we're getting ready to talk to my man, Tristan Dlabik. Tristan started with us. His first interview was at 18 years old, started at 19 years old, is currently 20 years old. And, you know, Tristan, I would tell you, I only tell you this because I know you got 5149. I have not personally met myself. Maybe they're out there. I think Marcus got a few. But I've never met anybody at 19 years old who has been able to do the things that you have been able to do within our company. Not only have you earned six figures at 19 years old, you'll probably almost double that this year, at least increase by 50% this year. But you've been able to do it all while remaining humble and not losing your humility, which is hard for people to do in life in general, especially at the young age of 19 years old. And, you know, I remember telling you, Tristan, to not approach this game like you're 18, 19 years old and everybody else is older. I want you to approach this game like Mike Tyson. And at 19 years old, Mike Tyson was knocking people out and was the heavyweight champion, this sucker. And people were ducking and dodging him, and he was knocking people out that were twice his age and 7 inches taller than him. And that's exactly what you've been able to do. At 19 years old and 20 years old now, you've surpassed a lot of people. Not everybody yet, but you've surpassed a lot of people, and you've put on the last, what have you been here, year and a half?
Yeah, year and a half now.
Last year and a half, you know, you've done some things that I've never seen done before for somebody at 19, 20 years old. So we want to pick your brain on that. I want you to help people with that. Less than 50% of our audience is American income. You know, people. We have people from all different walks of life on here. So we just want to add value to everybody out there. I think you have a lot that people can learn, especially a lot of people double your age, and a lot of people that are your age can learn from you. So why don't you just start out with telling us a little bit about your journey in life, a little bit who you are, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
I think that's perfect. I remember when I first started, you know, and I think an awesome thing is just daily with the position I'm in right now. I have a lot of time I spend out with training individuals that are out in the field and myself out in the field working with protecting families. But I think a lot back to the beginning and really thinking, I feel as if I was groomed for this opportunity, as if, you know, I was cut out specifically for this. And the reason why is just growing up. I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay, so my mom, she grew up in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. She got a promotion. She moved down to Arkansas, met my dad, and then we had a lot of money when we were young. So I kind of relate to you where I've been up and down. They split up when I was 6, and then shortly after that, I was with my mom for about a year and a half, 2 years. She came home one day. She said, I'm leaving. And I didn't know what she meant by that. She said, I'm going to have to go away for a little bit. And I was kind of thrown off because it seemed like it was like a bad dream, like a nightmare. And I didn't know necessarily what was going on.
You were
Next
6?
day, I was 8. So I was with her, I was 8. She was gone. She went away. So she did 2 years, actually, in West Virginia at a federal state prison. And then next, my dad, he picked us up. And we were with him for about 2 years, and it was all over again another morning. And he was gone. He's like, I got to go away. And in the meantime, I'm developing a relationship and an emotional connection with these individuals, with my parents, and I'm falling in love, and you know, just experiencing a lot of different walks of life. A lot of money, you know, my first 10 years, my first decade of life, a lot of money. So they went away for you know, money related things. I won't get too in depth because they'll listen to this. And
Sure.
I'll hear about it. And then from there, graduate high school. We were on welfare up until I was living with my mom when she got out because my dad did the rest of the time while I was in high school. And we were, you know, living in my grandparents' living room. I remember coming home, just, you know, I had lettuce in the fridge and just the food bank lines. But I was always a happy kid. I was an angry kid, but I was a happy kid, if you know what I mean. I went home happy with my family. But if anybody said anything to me in school or anything that irritated me, you know, I was angry. I didn't want to talk. I wanted to just get it over with then and there. So that was kind of my transition kind of into American income. You know, a complete 180. People don't believe it's me. They say the most asinine things like, this isn't possible, you're doing something's fishy, something. Because if you would have saw me before this, it was like, it just doesn't correspond with who I am today, if that makes sense.
Even a couple years ago, if you look at, now you're 20 and how your life was at 17, at 18, how you were living your life, what you were doing and until now. If there's somebody else out there, if there's somebody that is in that transition, currently, maybe they're 17, acting wild, doing things, and how did you do it? What do you think? How were you able to transition so fast into being that and then switching over into being professional, being coachable, winning everything, dominating in business? What could you point out that others can apply?
I feel like the biggest thing is, I feel as if, and I don't, want to inflict anything on anybody, but I believe God was planting seeds the whole entire time that I wasn't able to realize in the very beginning in regard to, growing up with one parent, them going away and experiencing different lifestyles. I always had a taste for wealth. I knew I wanted to be extremely free, wealthy. So I've always wanted to have the nicer things in life. And when they were taken away, it was kind of like that psychological effect when you take away a lollipop from a baby. One of the main reasons I was angry at, with my mom is because I couldn't understand why we were so poor. Go out and do, whatever we did, because I was 11, 12 years old, get the money back. You know what I mean? The lifestyle was like, it was like day and night. We went from like mansion to nothing, living, you know what I mean? So like I had that taste there. So if you're following
experience.
The seed was there. That was planted there. It wasn't being groomed and guided correctly. So I just had bursts. Like I was really good for just moments at times. I was the rep football star. You know what I mean? Because I get real good at something, and then I would get distracted because I didn't have that male guidance in my opinion. I don't know. No offense to females. My mom, you did a great job. But I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't have that kind of kick you in your butt. We're sticking with this. But as I got older, she did stick with that, and she started to implement that more. And so that was that first seed. And then the second was when I did come across something, fear. I've messed up on a lot of things, and I've lost a lot of great things as young as I am. In my opinion, I've lost a lot of great things 2 decades into this life that I know if I would have been a little more disciplined, I would have been able to keep those things, So a lot of people think fear is horrible, but I appreciate my fear, and I realize, you and I talk about it once a week, the foundation of wisdom is fear of the Lord. So with that, it's like every day, it's like I realize I do not want to be humbled and lose what I've gained so far with this opportunity.
Why don't you talk about that? When we talk about, why don't you talk about what I've brought up to you about the 51-49 and our beliefs on, the balance of humility and still being able to assert yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, the humility, it's never necessarily been a huge issue, just with the way I was raised. I have that Southern hospitality just because before, my parents went through so much conflict, the time I did have, I give a lot of credit to my dad because if yes ma'am, no ma'am, and yes sir, no sir wasn't coming from my mouth, I was getting smacked. And it was a little different, you know what I mean? And me personally, I don't consider it child abuse. I think if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be the man I am today. And so I really think that groomed the humility that I have today. And having nothing, just having the 6 figures, I'd never even dreamed. I was thinking about it in the very beginning when I was in my training process. They say the first 3-4 months here at AIL is the hardest. I would go home every night and I'd write 10, 15 pages before I go to bed. It'd be like 1, 2 a.m. And I remember finishing a book about my 4th or 5th month in and talking to you about it. And we were like, sit on it. So I'm sitting on that. But I remember reflecting back on that and just thinking, like, I dreamed of making half 6 figures. If I could make half 6 figures, like being 30, 40 years old, I'd be grateful for that. And so I feel as if I've always been somewhat humble. I don't need to brag. I don't feel like I've done anything absolutely phenomenal yet. When you compare to what can really be done in regard to having an impact on lives and you set aside materialistic things, I realize how much more. Every day people say you're doing great, you're doing this. But the more I grow, and I can feel myself growing. You can feel yourself growing when you're really hitting the books and everything, and you're hitting what needs to be done, mind, body, and spirit. But the more I grow, the more I learn I need to grow because I allow sometimes for comparison the thief of joy.
The more you know,
compared to you,
the more you realize how much you don't know.
How much I don't know.
Right?
Yes.
It's the same with me every day. the 51-49 concept. Why don't you talk to them about that? Let's assume they don't know. They don't even know we're talking about 51-49.
So I never really heard it before. And Simon, he kind of put a nice title on it, the 51-49, 51% humility and 49% confidence, I would put it. Not pride, not arrogance. It's a perfect balance of the humility and confidence, because without a perfect balance of one or the other,
just walk it in.
You'll outweigh it, and you'll get messed up. You'll get messed up on it. So I think in regard to people understanding how that has to work with whatever industry or whatever you're doing in life, you've got to be humble with the way you present yourself to people. And I don't know if this is cool or allowed or not, but relating it to scripture, what I think of is the one parable where the lady, one of the sisters, is washing Jesus' feet with oil in her hair because she just wants to be in his presence. Could you imagine somebody coming up and be like, "Hey, Simon, let me wash your feet," with my hair? Like, you'd be like, "What the heck is going on?"
Right.
But that takes an extreme amount of humility to just offer just genuine love and care to anybody. Like, I always think to myself, all these millionaires and billionaires say how you treat everybody. It's really going to be like how you are as an individual. It's a reflection of you and your core and who you are internally. So, like, I'm always thinking when I'm getting mad at somebody. I was listening to you, Maurice, on the Street Sports and Success. And I was thinking when he was saying he'll let people just take in traffic.
Yeah.
Sometimes I won't do that. I'll follow you, hold the horn. Like, I need to grow. I'm just letting you guys. There's some areas I need to grow because I don't have that patience. You know what I mean? That humility where it comes into play, and then the confidence as well. When I think you start getting good at something, you start getting pretty comfortable, and it can really be very detrimental to forward success, because once you start getting comfortable and you realize, like football, you can hit that route the best because you develop comfortability, and then you're going to get blindsided and somebody's going to take your helmet off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Success is a bad teacher.
It's a very bad teacher.
That 51-49 is, basically you got to have a certain level of confidence in yourself to be able to assert yourself and be a leader and take things to the next level. But I think a healthy way to look at it is you always have to have your humility at least 1 point ahead of where your ego is at, or where that confidence level is at. And so, if you got this 49%, boom, you got to have 51% humility. As long as your humility is 1 point above whatever that confidence level or ego level could slip in, then you can be okay with that healthy balance. What was the decision? How did you make the decision to say, I don't think I'm going to go to college. I think the route for me is going to be, I'm ready to go to work. I want to do this. What I'm sure a lot of people were doing opposite or thinking differently. What was it, that made you think that way? And, what's the process of that?
I feel like the process for me was like ADHD or something. I was never like clinically diagnosed, but I cannot sit down. And a lot of parents will ask me, help out, with my son, daughter, they can't sit down. It's not, I don't believe it really is an ADHD or an issue like that. Maybe it is, but it's a lack of passion. You know what I mean? They're just not passionate about it. So for me, college, books, I was never passionate about it. You know what I mean? I was passionate about getting everybody to laugh. I was, the jokester. But I was in the process of rehabilitating a relationship with my pops. And I went out to Arkansas. I was in school for 2 weeks. People don't realize. And then in that time, I was praying pretty hard. A lot of people don't realize. I swear, God really lined this up. So I was in school for 2 weeks, and I was just reading. And this was the second time I attempted to do this. The first time, utter failure. When you have a split household and you're trying to please one parent, you're always hurting somebody you love. So I remember trying to do this because the whole idea was I had to sacrifice. So he started playing in my head. God started playing in my head. I had to sacrifice. My dad knew how to get money. Somehow he knew how to get money. He was out running a restaurant, so I was like, I need to be around people who know how to get money. But I need to sacrifice as well because I want to take care of my mom because she's done everything for me. Went down there. I was like, all right, Dad, take care of my school. I was in there for 2 weeks, and he wasn't, taking care of my school. I was taking care of my school. So I was like, started studying subsidized and unsubsidized loans. And I'm getting really intricate into this, but it really is important when you get facts and you get knowledge on these things.
No doubt.
These loans, the way they're set up, the unsubsidized loans start to accrue interest immediately. And what happens if y'all go look up, the Rule of 72 or compound interest, how it works, it's how people make an extreme amount of money. And it's how you can get into an extreme amount of debt and trouble, especially with an individual like myself. I was just going for business class. What people don't realize is you can get a business class for some hard work by following a successful, credible mentor. You know, whether it's Simon or just anybody in any industry, if you can find somebody at the top, if you've got to pay for it with no interest, that would be my opinion on that.
I'm gonna do a whole thing on this. I was thinking about this the other day, Tristan. I think, if you really want to hear some crazy advice that I would have for people out there is, and this is switching gears from college. I don't want anybody, I'm not knocking the college system or, it's different strokes for different folks. But what I will say is I think if you were to look at, if somebody were to ask me, son, what do you think is the best thing that I could do? I'm coming out of school and I want to be great. I want to learn how to own a business, or I want to know how to run a restaurant. I told a kid in the youth program that was trying to learn music. He wanted to be a music producer. So they were in this big argument, big debate. He don't want to go to college. We're trying to tell him he needs to go to college. This and that. I said, you sure you want me to give the advice here? I said, because it might not be what everybody wants to hear. So I pulled a kid, and as I started talking to him, I think he's super intelligent. And I'm thinking, man, so I ended up saying, I don't think college, maybe that's not the right route for him. But here's what I would tell you. If you could find a way to call all the top music producers,
yes,
and tell every single one of them, I'll work for you for free for 2 years. Mm-hmm. I'll do anything you want me to do for free, or just enough to survive. Just find a way for me to be able to eat food and survive. And I will work for you for free. I'll do anything. I'll drive your cars for you. I'll clean your cars for you. I'll find a way to add value. But I just want to spend time around you sometimes. I think the education that a person would get if they worked for free, like people will go to college and spend $40,000 a year, $160,000 over the course of 4 years. If you made no money for 2 years and it cost you zero, but you gained the knowledge from Puff Daddy, or you gained knowledge from somebody that's a beast producer, or you got to hang around and watch how this person runs his restaurant and you followed him everywhere. You just was his assistant. Whatever you want, I got it. I'll get you water. I'll get you coffee. I'll clean your car. I'll take your car to get gas. Whatever. I just want to be around you. I want to roll with you. I want to ride with you. I want to watch how you operate. All the things that you would learn over the course of 2 years, if you had to pay somebody for that much time to teach you the game, it would be a whole lot more than making zero. It would be a whole lot more than $40,000 you got for free in the form of a real education. Because you can learn fighting a little by looking at somebody on YouTube. And that's how people get in trouble at bars and shit. They start drinking, they think, well, I can do this. And then you get in with somebody that really knows what they're doing. And if I want to learn how to fight, does it make more sense to me to sit there and watch somebody telling me, or does it make more sense to me for me to go and actually do the work with somebody and somebody train me? Let me watch somebody up close, or let me learn from a book. And so there's part of it that people need to learn from some stuff. But if I could give advice to my own children, if you were to find something you're that passionate about and you want to be great at, and you find the best in it, the GOAT in it probably's time is worth a whole lot of money if you had to pay that person to teach you. If you could just hang around them and drive with them and ride in the car with them and learn how they roll, the amount of money that you'll get back in the form of your education would be priceless. How about books? You mentioned you hated books. You hated reading.
Yes.
You hated, doing schoolwork. How you doing there now? You listen? Do you read books now? And if so, how did you transition your mind from not doing it at all, hating it, to doing it?
It was like it was a flip of a switch. Again, it was like an overnight thing, and I really have to give a lot of a lot of that to you when sitting down on one of the first meetings and just something, it just clicked. It really just clicked because I got my state exam passed within, a day. I got it done pretty quickly. And then from there, I was memorizing my scripts and I was going over things, but I was reading, and simultaneously I was listening to any and every successful leader or billionaire, millionaire on YouTube while reading. You know what I mean? So before I even started here, I don't know what came. It was like I was possessed because my passion linked to this opportunity, and it was like, I became possessed, obsessed. Nothing in this world was going to stop me from getting to where I needed to be, and I overloaded. So what was cool, and a lot of people, they saw me do pretty decent. They would say probably quickly, but I just did what somebody would do in 2 years, and I got it within probably 4 months from making sacrifices. And it was the reading. It was Think and Grow Rich, Be Obsessed or Be Average. It was just a combination of these things, and it all added up. And the more I fueled myself by listening to the biographies of the successful individuals that said, I tell everybody that I have the opportunity to add some value to, I say, listen, if the average millionaire is just reading a book a week, and that's the one piece of the pie, you can't do everything else, the rocket science,
control
blah,
what
blah,
you
blah,
can.
you know what I mean? If that's the one piece of advice, I told myself, that's fine. I'll read a book a week. If that's the one thing I can contribute to the variable of becoming a millionaire, then I'm going to say, hey, Simon, this didn't add up. I'm not a millionaire. I've been reading a book a week for the last 10, 15, 20 years. What's going on here?
Yep.
So I feel like if I can get that one piece done,
yep,
then it's worth it, not just for me, but for my mom,
yep,
for my sister.
no doubt.
You know what I mean? And for the people that depend on me. It's so much more than just my success now. It's every day I reflect on it. Every day I reflect on how, where we're going and how these books are going to contribute to me for the people that are depending on me that I don't even know who they are yet.
No doubt.
2, 3, 4, 5 years, the next LeBron James that'll come through this organization or just come into my life that I can add value to with whatever industry or whatever you're doing in life.
You'll be able to coach the next LeBron James better than I even was, because I was 22 out of college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can relate to those people. No one's going to be able to relate to the people coming right out of high school, 18, 19 years old. And I'm telling you, it's not just for this business, but just business in general.
Mm.
I'm 35 years old, and people look at kids 18, 19, 20 years old like, oh, what do they know? What experience? Give me an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old all day long.
Yes.
I'll take the youth all day, because there's fighters winning at 19 years old, world titles.
Yeah.
There's LeBron James coming out every day, and it's just something about the youth that's more coachable, typically than the average person. And so I think you're going to be able to relate to those people. And, one of my goals for you, and something that you're never really that shy about, I'll try to brag a little bit for you, but, you're talking to somebody 20 years old, that'll make over $150,000, $200,000 this year. I don't know if there's a way, unless you lose your humility. I don't know if there's a way you don't make $250,000 minimum at 21 years old next year. And my goal for you, and people shy away from this. I think the world tells you that, man, if you talk about money, you're bad. You know what I mean? You're bad.
My mom was like, never talk about money.
Talk about money. And I've heard you talk about the money and bring up, want to be a millionaire. I was reading about millionaires, and there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you can give of yourself and money doesn't have you,
yes.
It's okay to have money. And I'm tired of people knocking people that that talk about money, or that they want to have money, or they want to have nice things. And I look at the contributions that we're able to make in society in the form of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. We have the fundraiser for the It's About the Warrior Foundation, and we got the Youth Inspire Minds, fundraising event. Every month I got a fundraising event. On the call just now, I was on with Cash Money. Unfortunately there's a guy that has cancer, has a couple kids. He's in his mid-30s. We're leading up, taking care of everybody coming together and raising, the money that we need. We're going to raise this guy over $40,000 in 2 weeks for sure. And that's how I want to be represented from a Cash Money standpoint. But if we didn't have it, how can we help that person?
Yeah.
Who's going to pay for these kids to get vans? Who's going to pay for these kids to eat after school and go places if you're not allowed to do any? And so some of the most generous people I've met are not because they have money, I think some of the people that I've met have money because they were so generous. And I learned that, over time, because I used to hate people that had money. I was broke as a kid, and things got a little bit better, every year after, 12 years old.
Yeah.
I started to get a little bit better. My mom did a little bit better, and it was a team effort. Grandparents pitching in,
Yes.
and it's the whole community pitching in to get me through this sucker. And I used to hate people that had money. I would purposely start fights with people that had money and kids that had money because I didn't know why. I was raised that we just don't like people with money. People that have money are bad people. They think they're better than you. And so I was taught this my whole life in my head. We would go, my mom would never do it, but she would take me to go see the nice houses for Christmas, and I would look forward to it every year. The rides to Canfield, Ohio, where they would have nice houses for Christmas, all decorated, and we would drive back to our $11,000 house where I was scared to even, go to bed because there was so much drama, going on outside. And I grew up to hate people, that had money. And over time, this would change as I met people that had money. And what I learned is to have a sneak. A lot of people that have a lot of money, they don't have the blessing of being around people that I did to be around people that are poor. Mm-hmm. And I, in the experience, I wish everybody could do it. The people that are poor, they don't have the blessing to be able to be around constantly on an intimate level with people that have money. I was able to be in with all of them. And what I learned is the people that had the money were just like everybody else. I know people that are poor, that were raised on the block selling dope, pistol whipping people, that people in that circle, some of them were just great people. They would do anything for you. Loyal, good people, no options, just you can understand how, based on their parents and what they had in life, how they ended up that way. But there's good people that are poor, and there's bad people that are poor. What I learned is the same thing with money. Money is a reflection of who you are as a person. All it does is magnify it. If you're a really good person in your heart and you get a lot of money, dog, you're going to be able to just help so many people, and you're just a really good person with a lot of money. And if you're a bad person and you end up with a lot of money, then you end up being a rude, obnoxious, cocky person with a lot of money, and usually that ends up with a lot of problems. And so I say all of that because I tell you a goal for me is to try to help you become a millionaire before I was. And I was a millionaire at 26 years old. I got to go back and look and see if I turned 27 that year or what. But my goal for you would be able to try to create and help you build a life of what you want. And the first step would be being a millionaire. That we set a goal for ourselves, that you're doing it before the age of 26 years old, bro. And I think those of you that are listening, as you follow Tristan, I wouldn't bet against you. Yeah. Put it like that. I wouldn't bet against you. And I wouldn't bet against you because you're willing to do the work. The more success that you have, the more work that you're willing to put in, and the harder that you're going. You're somebody I got to slow down. Hey, slow down, Tristan. Take a day off. Go visit your mom. Usually it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Could you tell us a little bit about what you've learned in leading others? You've transitioned into from a great salesperson to leading others. Already, and the people that you're developing are starting to have some success. What have you learned in the transition? That would benefit people, and about leadership. Any tips that you would give on leadership? What did you learn in leadership, and any success tips? I want you to just freestyle some stuff you can give to people over the next 10 minutes.
Leadership, I think Maxwell, like you've said, and like you've really shown me for the last year, is the go-to. When it comes to the books and the principles and the laws of leadership, and really what it takes to be a successful leader is just a life of leadership. I'll never be the best leader ever. It'll just be a life of servitude. That's really what leadership is, in my opinion. And I'd love to say, I haven't made any leadership mistakes whatsoever, but, I've definitely grown as a leader, and I've realized, how vitally important it is to have relationships as a leader. And, some things that stick out to me, and just, one thing.
That's huge right there, man. Just
the relationships in itself.
People want to lead, and they immediately get to work on demanding things and wonder why nobody's willing to follow them. And it starts with the connection and the relationship you build.
Maxwell says you gotta ask for their heart. You gotta get their heart before you get them to follow you, because people won't go along with.
Before you ask for their hand, you gotta ask for their heart. Yes. People don't go along
with who they don't get along with.
Come on.
So I just, it's so crazy, and I love Maxwell, but if you've ever been in a car, and that's where I do the majority of my reading now, and it's 2 hours, 3-4 hours of reading, and you're just listening to somebody's voice, and this isn't for one day or 1 week. This is a year and a half. It takes discipline to listen to, somebody's voice, some old dude's voice. I love that. I don't know if you'll ever hear this, but it takes discipline. Like, it's not like, that's where like all of and showing up and like listening to not just respond and this awesome feeling of being next to Simon Arias and this millionaire, but listening not just for the simple fact of that, but for the fact that like what he's saying, what these successful individuals are saying, I can utilize. You know what I mean? Like, to hear it and utilize and take that ammunition, and then let's go and use it. Let's go and change some lives. Like, because I feel like...
So just ingesting the books and audio books has helped you a lot in leadership.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think some of the mistakes I made, is just kind of like trying to generally lead the group, you know what I mean? And just being almost a little bit blunt and aggressive, and like, but like in avoiding different types of languages, you have to speak and lead people differently, because not everybody has the same individual goals. We need to all work towards the team goal, but again, it comes back to those relationships and having the respect of everybody. We can go through the 5 levels, the position, and then you've got the, obviously from position, it doesn't go to straight to production, permission, production, and then it goes to people development, pinnacle. Yep. So hitting all these different levels, it takes time. So I don't think anybody can expect that to happen overnight, especially with individuals, and not focusing on taking a duck to Eagle school. So it's like, it's
what you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
So with the Duck to Eagle School, it's like, it's okay to have your C and B players go out and do C and B things. You know what I mean? They're not like average people. You're not going to be able to take them to LeBron levels, but they're still contributing to the organization.
Amen.
They're still doing their part, and you still got to love on these people.
Right.
These are still human beings. We're not beating them up. I think I used to beat up average people because I didn't understand why you didn't want to be up at 4 a.m. reading, working out, and hitting spirit, and being done by 7 and up by college.
Oh, that drove me insane.
So it's
when
like
I first started too.
I got to stop yelling at some of these people.
It's hard.
So and love and care for the ones that have that ego mentality, and those are the ones that you're on the same level, and they're pushing you, and you're pushing them. Simon says, and these top individuals say, get around people that are on fire. Like this one amazing individual works with me, Sam. I mean, he's on fire. He helps me. So that's what's awesome there.
Let me stop on that. If there's young people listening, Sam got here on his own.
Yes.
I was ready. He was ready. But more, he was ready. He started it. So I was at the coffee shop here in Wexford. I was at Convive, and I was doing some work and drinking a coffee inside, and I was getting myself together, looking at my schedule. I remember exactly what I was doing. And he stopped and came up to me. Looked like he was on a computer studying or something. Came up to me and introduced himself, and he said, I just got to know, what do you do? Because I had the Bentley. Mm-hmm. He's like, what do you do? And so I started talking to him, and this is why you never judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
Because he just looked so unassuming, and he is.
Yeah.
Nice kid, and I'm thinking, man, he looks too smart for what we do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Not that you don't need to be smart for what we do, because you do need to be smart for what we do. But, sometimes people that are too smart overthink themselves, in the deal. And so he's going to college, and I said, you know what? He seems like a nice kid, man. Why don't I offer him an internship at least? And so I said, hey, if you want an internship, come into the office. I'll introduce you to some people, and we'll let it go from there. See, next thing I know, he's with you. Yeah. And I didn't expect this, but a couple months later, he ain't going to college, and he's tearing it up in the business. And you're raving, about this kid, man. So, the first thing, any young folks out there, the moral of the story is, please don't think that I said everybody drop out of college. That's not what I'm saying. But if you find somebody that is where you want to be, open your mouth and go talk to these people.
Yes.
Ask them what they do. Ask them how they did it, and try to get. And you'll be surprised at how many people are open. So sorry to jump in there when you were talking about Sam, but you're in the middle of talking about how Sam's how old is Sam? 20?
21.
21.
21.
All right.
22.
All
He'll
right.
make 6 figures this
All right.
year. So doing it
You
exactly.
guys already got your own house.
Yes. Townhouse.
You already bought a townhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Stacking money, saving money. We're not going out. We're not partying. So and just planning to with where we're going as just an individual company or organization. It's very amazing because Sam and I already have plans and correspondence for where he's going and mapping out his goals, and that's just part of the relationship. You know what I mean? That was step one. Before I could start making demands, again, I had to have that relationship in place. So we spent
Deposits
weeks together.
before demands.
Exactly. So we spent weeks and months together of, in the field, out of the field, getting to know one another. What did you do? Where'd you come from? What inspires you? Why are you, because he comes from a pretty decent background. So I was intrigued by why he had motivation that was similar to mine because, how people similar to me would relate it. We came from the mud, you know what I mean? Like,
blows me away. I can't
crazy.
wait. You got to get me with his dad. You got to get me with his parents.
Oh, yes.
Because for it amazes me. I need to learn from him.
His dad came from nothing.
He's produced something that I haven't produced.
Yes.
So he is who I want to be. I want
Yes.
my kids to be able to be.
Yes.
He has a good work ethic, but he came from some money. His dad does well for himself, and he's opposite of what you would think. All right, kid comes from a lot of money, he's going to be lazy. Kid comes from a lot of money, he's not going to be a hustler. He's not going to want to put in the work. Not going to be coachable. He's been the opposite. I know a lot of that has to come from his parents. Mm-hmm. He's actually gotten support from his parents. Most kids' parents would want to kill him. So shout out to what's Sam's dad's parents' name?
Sam Senior and Cindy.
Sammy and Cindy. Get me with Sam and Cindy.
Yes.
If you can, I got to meet those special people. But
they're amazing.
Anyway,
amazing individuals, and really just there's just so much in regard to the leadership. Concluding on the leadership. If you ever want to be a leader, in my opinion, at the end of the day, initially, again, we already understand the servitude. You have to be willing to serve others. Leadership is not just a position that corresponds with millions or a significant amount of materialistic things or income. Leadership is you making sacrifices in the beginning to get a return in the future, and it may be a few years. Listen to Andy Frisella, 10 years.
Come on.
You know what I mean? So if you're not willing to pay the price in regard to what it is you're asking this universe,
perks
exactly,
of leadership and not the price.
They don't want to pay the price. They don't want to pay the price. So what I think about, that is like sacrificing, transitioning from being a successful individual and now transitioning into leadership is sacrificing my name at certain times in order so I can nourish my team and make sure their names are getting called and creating a leadership culture. I shout out to Mike Russin for having a phenomenal leadership creating culture. I feel like you can get limited in our industry when you start creating an agent culture. I think if you want to pursue being an agent in regard to what it is we do, that's phenomenal. But the leadership creation culture is phenomenal because you're growing an individual. Like it's awesome to go out there and learn to protect a family's financial future and assets and liabilities. But to teach people how to develop their mind, their body, their spirit, and
how
how to
important would you say that is to you and for your success, mind, body, spirit?
I would not be here. I would not be here right now. I don't think anybody can maintain balance. Life is a roller coaster, whether you're in a performance-based position or you're just in life in general. You're not going to avoid the roller coaster of life, of unexpected situations, unexpected deaths, or whatever it might occur, and you're either going to get rocked by it or you're going to rock with it.
No doubt. I love it. Speaking of performance, based, I think I'll close out the last couple minutes here with you, saying that you're proof. At every level, I remember my friends in Florida. They were Jackie Z and Brian Z. They own a clothing store in St. Pete, Sundial. Great closers with some sick clothes. Every time I walk in the store there, I can't walk out without laughing. I mean, those two are phenomenal, and I just built a relationship with them after I spent a shit ton of money getting clothes in there all the time. But I remember building a bond with them and them telling me the first time they had a lawsuit come up, and you know what I said to them? Congratulations. I said, congratulations. And it wasn't what they expected. I'm not saying everybody go out and get lawsuits, and there's people that are getting sued and they deserve it and it's bad for them. But there's not many people that have reached high levels of success that haven't had somebody that's trying to come against them, or you don't have to, lawsuits going on. There's not a lot of people, whether it's LeBron James, you look at some of these people that are they're athletes or actors or actresses or very popular or whatever it is, and you'll see memes about them on social media or whatever it is. You can't reach high levels of success without people talking shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not possible. If you're looking for everybody's approval in life, you're going to be destined to be in solitude or average, because no one's ever gonna give you always encouragement. You got to learn to encourage yourself. And if you want to be a part of the 1% of America, you can't listen to the 99%. You can't listen to the 50%. You can't listen to the 25%. You got to listen to your heart. You got to listen to God. You got to listen to who's in your heart and who's in your spirit. And so for years, I would be discouraged, in this business by, people outside saying, "Oh, this is is that a scam? Is it a pyramid scheme?" And all this other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you look at the history of the company from Bernard Rappaport founded this company over almost 70 years now. Wow. Having Warren Buffett as our main shareholder, in this, Warren Buffett ain't gonna invest into something, Torchmark, that fits a scam.
Yes.
It's not stable. And then you look at Torchmark around 100 years, American Income around 70 years. A real pyramid scheme is where I have to bring you in order to make money.
Yeah.
Okay. If I don't bring you in, I'm not making any money, and I'm making more money than you're making because you're at the bottom. And really, though, a lot of these pyramids, when people say pyramid schemes, they're not even selling a product. Like they're selling, like, you have to pay this fee in order to join, and there's not even really a product. What I think is the complete opposite pyramid, and we've never discussed this, but let's discuss it right now. The opposite pyramid is, I don't think you can walk into a bank and find the person who's running the bank where the person at the bottom is making more. The teller's making more than the person who's running the bank. Or the manager is probably making more than the person that's doing a lot of the work, you know what I mean, at the bank. Or you find somebody that's running a restaurant, and the manager of the restaurant, is making less than the server, you know what I mean, or in our business, you have made more, okay, than people 2 levels above you, right? Your managers at times, you have bigger checks, bigger weeks than some of your. Well, that's not possible if it's a pyramid scheme. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you've moved past, and you will move above and beyond, as did I. People that were training me and brought me, that were responsible for me in this business. Pyramids, you can't do that. The person is just, the only way you make money is the person at the top makes all the money, and these people don't make no money, and the only way you make is if you recruit people into the business and they pay something, you don't have a product. But I feel like some of the worst true pyramid schemes is when you really go out into the business world out there and deal with, the boss is usually the one that makes the most money, and the people over here are the ones that, and then you can't even get promoted until somebody dies or gets fired or retires, or whatever's the issue. In this business, you can pass people up as you can get promoted, you can grow, you can be the boss of somebody who was the boss of you 2 years later. And there's often, and very often, do we have people that are making more money at the bottom than some of the people that are managing those people that at the top, so to speak. So I just wanted to give you a shout out for not believing the bull. I think a lot of kids come in and they go, "Well, I'm not coming because my friend said it's a pyramid scheme."
You go on the internet or something like that. I went on the internet and I saw all beautiful things. Again, I'm telling you,
it's what you're looking for, baby.
God really laid this out, because I only saw phenomenal things. And even if I saw bad things, I'm so set on. There's one parable, and I feel like
look at
y'all are going to think I'm a pastor.
95% positive versus the 5%.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always tell myself, too much analysis can cause paralysis. I'm not saying go out there and don't apply wisdom, but you'll put yourself in a horrible situation. You analyze every situation and shut it down because it looks like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to gamble to an extent. But with a mentor, now when I can text you and say, "Hey, Simon, have you ever analyzed or been in this situation? I don't have to worry about, it's not a gamble. It's 100% guaranteed. Yes, keep following the system, X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3 years. Here's what's going to play out.
Yep.
2 plus 2 is always going to be 4.
Let's close it out.
Yep.
Give me 3 tips for somebody out there coming out of college. Can be an adult, somebody that's not out of college, but just 3 tips for somebody that needs to get going. They haven't really gotten going. They're coming out of high school, coming out of college, or maybe they're coming out of a different career and they're starting to do something different. They just want to get to where you've gotten, not in this business, but just in life. Could you give me a couple tips?
The foundation is going to be discipline. None of it's going to, anybody listening to this, discipline equals freedom. Discipline equals freedom.
They want financial freedom and time freedom, but they don't want the discipline.
If I see anybody making less or losing by inches, it's because of lack of discipline. It's just a lack of discipline. And then the second thing, and this is a combination of 2 powerful things, coachability, but which requires humility. Because some cats started this business when Simon was 26 years old and he was a millionaire, and they were 27. They were like, I'm not listening to him. I don't know where they're at now. Okay? And some of them, they're millionaires now because they were able to be humble and receive that coachability. Whether somebody's older, younger, different skin color, female, male, I don't care what it is. Listen if they have what you want. Because, odds are, if you do X, Y, Z, what they did, 2 plus 2 equals 4. I hope you guys understand that.
Coachability.
Coachability.
Give me one more.
The final thing, and personally what I'm going to believe in, it's going to be, faith. I feel like that's a good conclusion, is faith. And that goes for whatever it is you believe in. You have to have not only faith in your faith, but in yourself. Belief in yourself when you can't see anything. I love telling this to people. The blessing isn't the blessing, like that material thing that you're hoping for. The blessing is the process. It's who you become in the process.
Truth.
You know what I mean? Truth. And that's not me. I didn't come up with any of this.
It's who you come.
You know what I mean?
You become in that process is the blessing.
That's the millions right there.
And people want to skip that process, and they skip the whole blessing.
And then that's why 8 out of 10 lottery winners lose all their money.
Yeah.
Because they skip the process.
Yes, sir.
But that was fire.
Yep. Well, I appreciate having you on the Grindcast. Look forward to having you on again. I appreciate everything that you do for others, for this organization. I'm proud of you. Proud to be your coach. Proud to be your teammate. Let's go out there and break some records, brother.
Amen. Let's go.
Let's get it.